Now, you may have been disappointed that the developer update didn't contain anything new. It just covered the new game mode. However, after that launched, Jeff Kaplan went onto ohnickel's stream where he discussed all sorts of stuff that's coming up in this year. The four of them teamed up to play the Rising Storm game mode: ohnickel, Jeff Kaplan, Nathan, and FREEDO. And as goes with these types of streams, there was a lot of Q&A going on, but it's not in a structured interview format. So what I've attempted to do is reorganize the different things Jeff slipped during the live stream into different sections. But if you want to go check out ohnickel and friends playing with Jeff Kaplan, check the link in the description. ohnickel's actually a friend of ours, so it's cool to see him get an opportunity to wrestle with Jeff, so to speak. All right, first subjects first, new heroes. Jeff goes at length to talk about the mysterious Omnic hero at the end of the cinematic for the Storm Rising game mode who was talking with Doomfist, implying that he's going to be very pivotal and important in the future. Now, he doesn't tell us the name of him or the motivations or anything other than he's a big deal. And the lore behind this guy is that there's a core section of time where Doomfist is out at large working with this Omnic monstrosity before Doomfist gets imprisoned for whatever they get up to. Because if you remember, when Doomfist came out, he broke out of prison. So this next activity that they're going to be diving into is the cooperation between Talon and these Omnics that got him in trouble to begin with. With that being the case, this puts the mysterious Omnic guy at a really high priority as possibly being either the next hero or on the early short-term hero list. Also, more clues that got dropped. Other characters we know about. You remember Echo from the McCree and Ash cinematic? Jeff Kaplan confirmed Echo is awesome, meaning that she has a playable version of her internally inside Blizzard, but is not the next hero. Another clue. The new character Sojourn, who accompanies the strike team to give commands for the Storm Rising game mode, and you may have recognized from the Recall cinematic, she is not the next hero. He did not confirm nor deny if she was going to be a hero, but it seems pretty likely. I mean, she's a part of Overwatch. She's an Overwatch character. And in fact, he goes as far to say that Sojourn and even Wrecking Ball were heroes that the development team created back in 2014, which makes sense. Part of the Recall trailer, they were thinking of him back then, but even Wrecking Ball was crucial to like Winston's storyline and was always sort of hanging in the wings, or maybe rolling or grapple crawling. And we all know Wrecking Ball is a very controversial hero. Jeff Kaplan also explained that Mama Hong, who was a character that was shown in a very early development piece of hero concepts that Blizzard was working on, is a fan favorite and also one of those out there heroes that's a little OTT, just like Wrecking Ball, and Jeff Kaplan likes both. Meaning he might be pushing to make Mama Hong a hero, but from the jokey nature of what he's talking about, I think it's a little out there and maybe unlikely. Just like he said, we're never adding Jetpack Cat to the game. He said that multiple times as a joke, no Jetpack Cat, but he said it like this, quote, "We're never adding Jetpack Cat. That'd be like adding a hamster to the game." Come on, Jeff, you're killing me here. You can't make a joke and make it seem like you actually could add Jetpack Cat. Okay, something that's a bit more concrete is Junker Queen, who's a character whose in-game likeness was created by an Overwatch fan and artist. We covered that recently in a video. Jeff Kaplan says there's big things planned in the far future for Junker Queen. So not the next hero, but she's definitely a character that they're working towards. Now, when Jeff says far future, but knows she's coming, to me that means she's somewhere along the lines of development, either in the concept phase or the playtest phase. They kind of move new hero concepts through multiple levels of testing and iterations, so she's probably somewhere in that realm, and a character that the dev team is probably pretty passionate about bringing to life at some point, especially since they know the community is so interested with Junker Queen. Okay, moving on to the next section, and this is where my ears start to perk up. Jeff Kaplan said that feature content is where the dev team's focus has moved. There's some things that are precisely what the community have requested that's going to be on the way, but also some surprises that nobody has thought of, or at least he thinks so. He didn't really give any specific hints, but said that they'll be talking about it in the weeks that come up leading to the next anniversary event. It's something that they've been working on for months, and he suspects it will surprise and delight people. He went at great lengths to say that it's not guilds. They really like the idea of guilds, but it's a difficult feature that takes a lot of development, and they want to do it right. Most importantly, developing for consoles is really difficult and makes this type of feature hard to make because it's a lot easier to make for the PC crowd, whereas on console, you've got a lot more limitations. They want to make sure that they can make it work for consoles as well, which, as I said in my earlier video, is what that massive patch was coming alongside the Rising Storm event. It's what they call a remaster, which sets up the integrity of the game to have a better foundation for more content to come. So to be clear, there's two things coming this year. The anniversary event is supposed to bring something they've been working on that should be a pleasant surprise, and then later in the summer, there's features that the community have been asking for. I don't know what this means. Can you just tell me if it's role preference queue or what, so I don't get my hopes up and have them utterly destroyed? I'm sorry to be upset, but it's like, I've been waiting years for this kind of stuff. They're finally moving towards it, though. We have a line in the sand drawn, whereas the last time we heard Jeff Kaplan speak, all of this was incredibly vague. Now, there's a roadmap for where we're going this year. We don't know what it is yet, but at least we know when to expect these things that should be coming out. The first thing we're getting is a surprise that they're confident we're going to like, didn't even know we needed. Later in the summer is when we're getting, I don't know, Lock 222, Roll Queue, or whatever they think the community wants. Now, to the point of 222, they did discuss it, but keep in mind, this isn't really a changed position for Jeff, because he already said in interviews prior with Emong and Fran that he likes the idea of 222. He was already advocating for it, so there already was a good chance they'd work towards it. However, the movement on this issue seems to be that they are, in fact, working on it, or at least testing it. The terms he used was we're entertaining it, which is to say they're trying it out. The way he described it is players have evolved how they play Overwatch, and he likes 222 because it's a way to not just encourage good team comps, but force good team comps so that you always have a reliable match. I mean, that's obviously what we've said about locking the roles, I don't know, 6 months ago at this point when GOAT started to become a thing. Jeff Kaplan notes that forcing players to have a good comp rather than expecting them to socially fix it is important. That's something that I've been harping on very recently, so it makes me happy to hear him use that terminology, the social pressures and the conflict that just arises naturally with having a mixed group of randos who play all sorts of different things, and perhaps it doesn't form into a workable comp. Jeff goes on to say that it's good because it gives much more accurate MMR, because you're locked into that role, you consistently play that role, not to mention the rest of your team also is in that case, so reliability of the game and MMR and SR, all of that just goes up. It's a big buff. Now, of course, the downside is they project that DPS queue times could go somewhere from 13 to 26 minutes, which is sort of discouraging for players that only want to play DPS or play that role, and instead they're looking at ways to create an encouragement system, but he didn't exactly explain what that would be. So obviously, making the other roles fun to play sounds like a pretty good reason to encourage it. But also, and I'm reading into this a bit, quests. Other games have quests. Heroes of the Storm has quests. I loved playing Heroes of the Storm. Extremely casual player. I'd only play quick play, but when I logged on and it said I had to play 3 games as a warrior or whatever, I could lock that role, go in and play it, and get those rewards. So that's an incentive just to play other roles and learn new roles and everything else. It was a really cool way to experience a diverse set of playstyles and characters and start to learn the game a bit. Now, I think the reason why they haven't put quests in yet, because it could spoil the way you play ranked now, because we're not in a system that locks for fair teams. But if you're locked into support anyway, there's not really a downside to encouraging players to go in and only play one role, because everybody's doing that. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be quests, because it seems like the obvious thing, but I'm sure there's other encouragement systems they could create. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Obviously, he mentions that retuning and rebalancing for characters would be required in a 222 because a character like Brigitte just doesn't really work as a second support a lot of the times. There is a few comps Brigitte's still nasty in a 222, don't get me wrong. This idea that you can't play her in a 222, no, she's an incredibly strong hero. As long as you hit ranged flails, you're still going to be fine. But yeah, she is best played as like a third flex DPS flex role character, not really a traditional support. But as far as balance goes, Jeff says that he thinks balance is in a good place right now, which is an odd thing to say with how much GOATs we're seeing in the Overwatch League. But of course, when he says that, I'm sure he's talking about the mass player base, in which case I'd agree. Outside of full team play, GOATs is just really difficult to play. It already was difficult because it's like a few hundred people in the entire world know how to play tanks properly. So the idea that you're going to run a comp with randoms full of tanks is just not a thing, right? Tank play in Overwatch is just so misunderstood, and I'm sorry if that offends you, but I talked about this with SVB as well. Other analysts and commentators, people who coach players, tank game is the most far behind in the overall community. And so because of that, the tank comp is going to be difficult to run in matchmaking. Meanwhile, it's wreaking havoc in the the pro side of play, but that's not necessarily Jeff's concern, which is interesting because I'm sure the Overwatch League doesn't like the game devs allowing for 3-3 to be as strong as it is. Now, I'm probably going to split off to make another video discussing this point, so I'm not going to go too much more into it, but Jeff did say that there's no more reworks on the horizon because they're pretty satisfied with the way heroes play. I mean, they don't even think balance is really an issue right now. Maybe they'll tweak a few things in the future, but it doesn't seem like there's anything they want to attack or rework, and they're pretty much done with reworks as a concept. They said it upsets a lot of the players who play those heroes that are getting reworked, which makes sense. And whereas I think Symmetra and Torb's reworks have come full circle and are just getting better and better as they continue to tweak and change things, a character like Mercy kind of got left high and dry, in my opinion, where she felt like a hero back in the day at launch, then they overtuned her way too much, and then started beating the proverbial dead horse with nerfs, overkilling the character to the point now where, yeah, she's strong in a power level sense, but not as fun as many Mercy players wish she was. I don't mind playing the character, but I also don't one-trick her, so she's just sort of a situational pick that you pair with something else rather than an entity in her own right, which is okay from a balance standpoint, but not okay for players who want to invest time maining the character. Some other small questions that were answered to wrap up the end of the video. Jeff's asked if they're going to move to free-to-play. He says, possibly, but there's no plans in the immediate future. I think that's a very PR-friendly developer response, and I'm almost certain the publishers Activision Blizzard definitely are aiming for free-to-play in the future. The playbook of turning a game free-to-play is to launch at a reasonable price, then slowly decrease the game, put it on sale, have a bunch of free weekends. They've done all these things, and then eventually go free-to-play. I think that's the direction we're going, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a free-to-play announcement come this BlizzCon near the end of the year. And if not then, the year after. Last section here is about platforms. Jeff was asked about cross-platform play. Jeff says that they're big fans of it, would love to work it out. No announcement in this regard, but it's slightly different than things they've said in the past, so it looks like it might be more on the table and maybe a thing they do eventually. And he was also asked if Overwatch on Switch would ever be a thing. Jeff says that they love the Switch and would never rule anything out, and although the system isn't as technically capable as the other consoles, there's workarounds to get games looking good on limited hardware. He brings up that they were able to do that with Diablo 3, which, by the way, I just got that thing on my Switch. I don't know how I ended up buying this thing 3 times on the PC, PS4, and then now on the Switch, but it is great on the Switch. I might talk about that more in a future video because this one's going to be wrapping up, but in short, Diablo 3 runs like a dream on the Switch, and it looks really good too somehow. So I'd love to see Overwatch make that as well. I think that would be a huge boon to the player base. The Switch actually doesn't have that many online games. Of course, they've got their first-party titles, but not many third parties. So I'd love to see that happen, and I might just start playing on the Switch because I love that little system. Okay, that's everything for today's video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, please be sure to leave it a like. This is the 3rd video I'm recording today, so I'd appreciate the extra love on this one. If you did enjoy the video, please be sure to subscribe. It helps us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content, and if you haven't already, head over to our Twitter and hit us with a follow. We tweet out news, updates, and dank memes, Overwatch League predictions, and other stupid ideas. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.